Teachers. When did karmic justice finally come to that one troublesome student? I interned in a class with this kid who always thought he was smarter than everyone else. He was pretty smart. But not too much. He always got paired with kids not as smart as him. So he would always be really smug when dealing with them. During a meeting, his parents went off on my mentor teacher. She wasn't providing him with higher enough education. She was bringing him down. She was terrible. The conference ended when my mentor teacher left the room crying after the verbal lashing. Well, about a week later, there was an event where parents came to watch their children in class. It was to watch them do math games with other students. Well, my mentor teacher paired this smug little bastard with the actual smartest kid in class. The one who was working on more advanced classes after school. The kid got shamed. His parents were so flustered during the event. They were very visibly nervous and upset looking as this kid got destroyed game after game. They left before it was all done and took him out of school for the What is something a high school teacher told you that you will never forget? Class camp. We're out walking a trail to the next campsite, carrying our lives in our packs. I was not in great physical shape and was well back in the rear. So it's basically just me and one teacher to make sure no one fell too far back. We came to a part where a branch had fallen across the trail. Big enough to be an effort to move it, but not so large that it couldn't have been moved by any of the 30 other students and teachers that had already walked around it. Without even thinking about it, I grabbed the branch and tossed it to the side of the path. I always do this if I am walking down the street and see crap on the path that would be a hazard. I remove it. Smooth others' way. The teacher said to me. 30 boys walked past that branch. It took one man to move it. And he made life easier for every person after him. It became a personal motto. Of sorts. Make it easier for the people who come after you. Although when you do a good job, the person who comes after you is usually. Has your class ever made the teacher cry? What happened? Angry tears. Had a history teacher one year. Really good teacher. Very friendly with all the students. He had a teenage son who had committed suicide. And after he took some time off, he came back to work. Standard class clown kid started acting up in his class. Teacher asks him to go into the hallway and wait for him to come so he can speak with him privately. We heard their exchange get a little heated. But this kid just cranked it to 11 and insinuated teacher's kid was right to do that with a father like him. We later heard that kid bounce off some lockers about a second after, and we could hear the loud crying noise of that kid. Teacher came back into the room with angry tears and told one of us to call the school resource officer. It became a big hullabaloo and teacher ended up getting suspended for the rest of the year. At the time, we thought it was crazy he'd shove that kid like that. 15 years later and some real-world experience. I'm surprised that's all he did. Insults aren't enough to describe how much of a douchebag that kid. When did the class clown take it too far? Junior year in high school in Algebra 2. The teacher was kind of a douche, so this one guy, let's call him Mike, would give him a hard time. This was a regular thing. And Mike would get kicked out of class for saying and doing some inappropriate stuff, but we all thought it was hilarious. One day, our teacher didn't show up to class. Word got around that his oldest son had died of a drug overdose and he had to take some personal time off. He didn't show back up until a week later and he looked really sullen and down. During class, Mike pulled out a can of Coca-Cola and started sipping it nonchalantly. Teacher had a strict no eating or drinking in class policy and Mike was aware of this. He told Mike to throw it away and step outside. Mike, the absolute savage, says, "Look, I know you don't like Coke. But I'm sure your son did." Nobody laughed. Just silence. Some people didn't get it. The ones who did were just too shocked to say anything like me. Mike threw his drink away and walked out.